Welcome to the BBC News at 1. This episode is Season 5. People are so shocked after the two earthquakes in Venezuela. Hundreds of people are dead and around 50,000 people have been reported missing after two strong earthquakes. We'll have the story also on the programme. The UK heat warning continues. 7 impact West London. Parts of England, including London, are under a red warning. Also in the programme, a teenage boy dies after extreme lake entering a lake during a heat wave as storm warnings. I also going to be talking about the leadership contest. What percent of reporter Chris Mason? Also, King Charles tax bill revealed in a new document. Also, good tax overhaul may be on cards as debit hits record high. Well, of course, by saying the bypass LBS will continue. Also, the World Cup of the latest. Which will put up to England's final group game. Sports Centre for the fastest one on the paper. The Wimbledon 15 for first round to our full Wimbledon this year. Also, England's fight back at Championship Day 2 of its centres with Bezos taking 4 wickets. We'll have weather with Chris Fox. Welcome to the BBC. Welcome to the BBC News Network. It's been told hundreds of people are dead and around 50,000 people are reported missing after 2 big earthquakes hit Venezuela yesterday. As the aftermath of the earthquakes continues to have an impact. The number of killed in Venezuela earthquake rises to almost 600 people. This report from Dan Burnham has his report. It's Park Run for you tomorrow. Oh, I said I can watch ya. You do for support. What? Everywhere shorts. Today, wearing trousers and heat. Are you mad? Are you physically mad?
Yeah.
Are you deluded?
Yeah.
Are you physically deluded?
Yeah.
Are you physically...
Yeah.
Is that male if it's white? No. What is that? Is it her with you? Hey? Is it her with you? No.
Hours now since two massive earthquakes struck Venezuela, and just look at the scene in the capital city, Caracas. There are rescue workers here, but many local people too, some in bicycle helmets, using whatever they can to sift through the debris. This crumpled wreckage used to be an apartment building 8 floors tall with 16 families inside. It's thought that many were home at the time of the earthquake. It was a public holiday in Venezuela. When the quake struck around dinner time, people were together celebrating. Orlando's son Gregory, a psychologist, lived in one of the apartments. Do you believe he was at home at the time of the collapse?
Yes, my son's friend told me that they were going to watch a film at his place. We are hoping to find him in another place that the workers haven't been able to reach.
Gregory's friend Eileen is holding vigil too.
He's an excellent psychologist, and we are here hoping they'll find him. His patients are waiting for him, and we are too.
This is a treacherous operation. Remaining parts of the structure could collapse at any time. It's gone really, really quiet here in the last few moments, and that's because the rescuers believe that they've heard a noise, possibly a tapping from inside the building. The hope is that that could be someone alive in the rubble. It turns out to be a false alarm, but this volunteer says he's been searching since noon today. He's found 2 dead bodies, but has also helped rescue 2 people alive. He's looking to God for another miracle, he says. Across Caracas are traumatised people, old and young. Many of them are displaced from their homes. The risk of more buildings collapsing is very real. The fear is too.
It's awful. It's not been easier since yesterday. You can imagine with the kids.
They say they've had help from the authorities, but it's their neighbours showing up with supplies. There is a pervading sadness and exhaustion here. People who have been through so much economic and political.
We begin the program in Venice.
We begin the programme in Venezuela, where officials say at least 235 people are now known to have died in Wednesday's powerful back-to-back earthquakes. Large numbers of people are still unaccounted for as rescue teams try to find survivors in the rubble of collapsed buildings. These are live scenes coming to us from the capital, Caracas. The second of the quakes was the strongest in Venezuela since 1900. The country's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, said that her government's absolute priority was to find as many survivors as possible as she visited the worst-hit area, the state of La Guardia. Joe Inwood has our report.
In La Guaira, whole blocks reduced to rubble. The city, a scene of destruction, devastation, and despair. For people like Carolina, who cannot find her son.
The only thing I can say is that I have my heart in my hands and I don't know what to do. I ask God for all of us because this is something that, there, where you see that, nothing. I don't know where he is.
And this was the moment on Wednesday evening when two major earthquakes struck in quick succession. The first magnitude 7.2, the second 7.5.
I started hearing massive thunder sounds, and by the time I looked around, everyone else that was outside of the boxing ring I was in was already crowded under the pillar and supports and started screaming. The earthquake lasted what felt like a really long time. It felt like about 30 seconds. The local people there were screaming for God to save us.
The town of La Guaira on the coast was worst hit, but the capital, Caracas, was also badly affected. There, chains of people formed to help clear the huge piles of debris and search for survivors. Venezuela is a poor country that has suffered from years of economic mismanagement and corruption. The acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, has promised that heavy machinery and aid will get to the affected areas as soon as possible.
And we are now declaring a state of emergency, as provided for in our constitution. I want to thank the governments of the world that immediately after these earthquakes occurred, contacted Venezuela to offer solidarity and support.
And those promises of aid have come in from all over the world, but notably from the US. They recently captured Venezuela's longtime president in a controversial military operation. The White House has now said it will send around $150 million in aid. And time is of the essence. No one knows how many, but people are trapped under this rubble. Some will still be alive, for now. Graciela was pulled out by rescuers many hours after her building collapsed.
When the earthquake started, I clung as tightly as I could to the doorframe, so tightly that I broke my finger. I held on tight, really tight to the doorframe until all the floors collapsed.
With every hour that passes, the chances of finding people alive goes down. This was the worst natural disaster to hit Venezuela in decades. The cost it has inflicted continues to grow. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
Well, I've been speaking to Victoria Aguirre, who has family in Venezuela, and I began by asking her exactly how her family were.
Everybody's alive and safe. Everybody managed to make it out safely out of their homes. They're still quite shaken and reeling from all of this, but physically they're okay.
Okay, so what did they share with you in terms of their experience when those earthquakes struck?
There was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of don't knowing what to do, especially because this is the biggest tragedy that has happened in the last almost 80 years. So obviously the first reaction is, oh, let's try and get the older members of the family out, make sure that we all get out, and then seeing the neighborhood, like their neighborhood come down is quite a harrowing picture to see.
You said they've managed to get out. Where are they?
They're still in their homes. Their homes were thankfully one of the few that, besides material damage on the inside, loss of like cutlery and stuff and other personal items seem to be okay. We're still assessing the foundational cracks and stuff, see if it's still safe for them to keep in their homes, but they're keeping around their area.
Yeah, so, you know, we've heard the story of how you do have extremes in Venezuela, you know, new modern buildings and probably have a lot more safety measures when it comes to natural disasters like this. But then you have those that aren't so lucky. Are you hearing any stories of people who have completely lost their homes?
Yeah. It's been nonstop online. You'll see people sharing the videos of their homes, their video of their neighborhoods, their video of them showing you this is where my building used to stand and it's completely down to rubble.
And very quickly, in terms of access to power, to water, what are you hearing on that?
Last I've heard, the gas main has been shut down since yesterday to avoid risk of explosion with everything that was happening. With that, access to clean water is very limited unless you have access to either one of the like welfare centers that are being set up, the pop-up centers, or if you're able to mobilize yourself to one of the bigger meetup points like the stadium or bigger shopping centers, it's very difficult to get clean and reliable water and electricity as well.
Victoria, just thinking ahead, what are your family's main concerns right now? What are they worried about the most?
Immediately trying to make sense of everybody who's still missing. Thankfully, my immediate family is not missing anybody, but that does not exclude us from knowing somebody who does. So obviously, it's immediately trying to find answers. It's also trying to assess: is it safe for us to stay here? Is it safe either because there's cracks in the foundation, or is it safe because we're getting active help and aid with food and, as you said, electricity and stuff? And overall, is it safe to move around? Because one of the major highways near Caracas was also affected. It fully cracked open. So it's a lot about safety, I think.
That was Victoria Aguirre speaking to me earlier.
More temperature records have been broken as much of Europe continues to swelter in a heat wave. Here in the UK,
Next, the Met Office has extended the red extreme heat alert for today. As this heatwave continues to have an impact on people across the UK, people are vulnerable, healthy, even young children are at risk. Because of some parts of the UK are under an amber warning for thunderstorms, after a teenage boy dies.
temperature records have been broken as much of Europe continues to swelter in a heat wave. Here in the UK, the hottest temperature of the year was recorded on Thursday afternoon, with 36.7 degrees recorded at Merrifield in Somerset. A rare red warning for extreme heat, meaning there's a danger to life, is currently in place in southern, central and western areas of England and parts of Wales. Some schools have closed, a hosepipe ban has been introduced in Kent, and transport services have been disrupted. In France, authorities say hospitals in Paris are overwhelmed, and the government says the health alert has been raised to its highest level. New data shows Europe is the fastest warming continent in the world. In fact, Europe is heating up twice as fast as the global average, according to the Copernicus Climate Service. Well, I'm joined now by Dr. Chloe Brimicombe, a climate scientist who researches the impact of extreme heat and what policies countries can introduce in response. Thanks so much for being with us. Can you explain for us why Europe is increasing in its heat more than other parts of the world?
So it's to do with the position of Europe, so in the northern hemisphere. So how the climate works is that we have 3 different cells around the world, and basically the positioning of Europe means that we are more likely to see this faster growing heat on this continent. But we also do see heat waves across the world. So there was also a study that showed that nowhere in the world is safe from heat waves. It's just a matter of time and a question of when a massive heat wave or records will be broken in all parts of the world. But it's very pertinent in Europe because obviously of the positioning, it's the fastest warming. Heat waves in Europe are also caused by blocking high pressure systems and the jet stream, which is a fast-moving body of air high up in the atmosphere, and this heat wave was partially caused by a divergence in our jet stream, slowing down and making sure that this high-pressure system could move in over Europe from North Africa. So yes, and obviously there's been a lot of impacts that we've seen over the last week, and these weather warnings are continuing over the weekend, which is obviously concerning for continued impact.
What would you warn people watching about how to look after themselves and the impact on the body? I was caught out myself with one of my children ending up in a St John's ambulance side room because he'd not drunk enough water and had overdone it in the heat because he just underestimated the impact of it.
I think you put that quite clearly. I think we can all very much underestimate the impact of heat. And a lot of the time, we have been speaking about very much neededly that heat waves are silent killers. So they can cause excess mortality in European countries. And this is particularly true in the over 65s. But everybody can be impacted and their health can be impacted by extreme heat. And that's what the red weather warnings across Europe really talk to. So it's also children. But you yourself, if you don't drink enough water, if you don't stay cool, could experience heat stress. And in the most extreme case, this can go on to cause a number of heat-related illnesses, one of which is heat stroke. And actually, if you do not access cooling as a result of heat stroke, what you might not realise is that you can actually have lasting brain damage as a result of experiencing too high temperatures. So it's really important to stay cool. And make sure that everybody around you is staying cool and safe as well.
And how much worse is it going to get, and at what pace do you think? I mean, how many more of these heat spikes will we see, and how quickly?
The data from the UK Met Office shows that for the UK, that within the next 12 years, and this was produced in 2022, which is when we last saw the 40 degrees Celsius record broken in the UK, that we were likely to see that again within the next 12 years. And more research that was issued this week showed that we could be experiencing 45 degrees Celsius heat waves by 2056 if we don't reduce carbon emissions. On Wednesday in the House of Commons, the UK government discussed the 7th carbon budget for the UK. And luckily that was approved, which means that legally binds the government to reducing emissions under a certain time frame. So it's really encouraging to see that commitment, but hopefully that means that there will be actions on reducing these emissions so that heat waves don't continue to increase and get to those temperatures by 2056.
Dr. Chloe Brimicombe, thank you very much indeed for being with us.
It's also having an effect on pets, for what I've heard.
The heat wave continues. The red danger to life warning is in force for a third day in parts of the country as another. The heat wave continues. The red danger to life warning is in force for a third day in parts of the country as another temperature record is broken.
The advice from Network Rail is don't use the trains unless absolutely necessary across London, South East England and most of East Anglia.
And the heat and humidity will just continue to build today. We could see temperatures in that red warning zone up to about 37 degrees or so. The heat and humidity also sparking some big thunderstorms. There are warnings out for those too, but we will keep you up to date throughout the programme.
The Eye newspaper leads with the UK heatwave, reporting that the Met Office is forecasting temperatures up to 37 degrees later today.
The Met Office has issued a red warning for extreme heat for a third consecutive day, covering London and parts of the southeast. A record temperature of 36.7 degrees was recorded yesterday afternoon at Merrifield in Somerset. It's the first time the Met Office has issued a red weather warning for extreme heat for 3 consecutive days. Yellow warnings for thunderstorms are also in place today for a large part of the UK. There was a sort of break in the sunshine overnight. These pictures from across Somerset and also in Edinburgh, where lightning strikes were seen. Meanwhile, in Derbyshire, firefighters have been tackling a wildfire involving moorland and woodland, which started on Wednesday night. This is Tintwistle Moor, where crews are trying to contain the blaze. And as all 4 of the UK's nations have recorded their highest temperatures so far this year, people are being warned to drink responsibly and avoid exercising outdoors. A chief at the London Ambulance Service is warning the public as the service has recorded its highest ever number of life-threatening emergencies driven by extreme heat. Well, the government is coming under pressure to show what it's doing to tackle extreme overheating. As parts of the UK swelter in a record-breaking June heatwave, our environment correspondent Jonah Fisher is continuing his travels down the River Thames this morning. And tell us, Jonah, it seems like we're not really that well prepared to deal with the weather.
Yeah, morning. We came out on a cruise boat on the River Thames in the hope that it might be a little bit cooler this morning. In practice, it is still very hot. It's only 9 o'clock. 29 degrees already here. It's going to probably go up to 35 degrees this afternoon. But yes, as you said, this heat wave this week, we're now into the 3rd day of a red alert being in place for parts of southern England here, London and the southeast today. It has really focused attention on how badly prepared really we are for these extremes in hot weather. So we've had the rail services, of course, have been heavily disrupted. People are advised not to take the trains if you're in the red zones, and indeed even in the amber zone today. We've seen lots of school closures over the last couple of days. Issues at hospitals in terms of medical equipment simply not working in the really hot temperatures. So what we've got today is the Environmental Audit Committee, which is a committee of MPs writing to the government to raise questions about how prepared we are for these extremes of hot weather, because we know that our climate is warming. We know that humans are a significant factor driving that with the greenhouse gas emissions that we're putting into the atmosphere from the burning of fossil fuels. The question is being asked, if we know our climate is going to get warmer, continue to get warmer, if we know that that will bring more heat waves, longer heat waves and hotter heat waves, what are we doing to think about how our cities might look, how our buildings might be designed, how schools might be designed to make them able to continue to work during this sort of hot weather? So those are all the sort of questions that are being raised as this heat wave continues.
Indeed. Thanks, Jonah. Maybe get out of the sun now. I think the heat wave is continuing. Well, you can see it in London there, but also across much of Europe. Authorities in the French capital have announced restrictions on alcohol this weekend. The sale of alcohol in Paris is to be banned on Friday and Saturday evening to try to reduce the pressure on hospitals. And people will also not be allowed to drink alcohol in public at certain times, except in restaurants.
it's in the shape of a crisp, but it's a chip.
It's a crisp.
Crisp. It's got crisp ancestry, but it's a chip.
McCain vibes, take 50.
It's like if a chip and a crisp and a baby.
87. A hot chip crisp combo thingy. McCain vibes, our chip crisp combo hot snack thingies.
I feel a bit warm in the studio as well. The Met Office say some daytime temperatures. I feel a bit warm in the studio as well. I feel a bit warm in the studio as well. The Met Office say some daytime temperatures could possibly hit 37 degrees Celsius. Who better to tell us how long this is going to go on for, how much we must suffer? Kirsty McCabe. Kirsty, that map is terrifying.
It is. And do you know, actually, the bigger picture is it is terrifying because we shouldn't be seeing temperatures this high at the start of the summer. So, yeah, you're right. It is kind of terrifying, but I've got some blues and greens coming in later on to cool you down. But, yeah, we had a really hot day yesterday. So, yet again, I'm telling you, it's the hottest day of the year so far, and we broke the June temperature records. 36.7 the high in Merrifield over towards Somerset. But you'll notice here, I popped on the Channel Islands because they had an all-time temperature record of 39.3. So, really horrible, unbearably hot weather. It is going to freshen up. This is the air mass temperature. This is showing the transition from the reds to the cooler greens. So fresher air is coming our way, but I think we'll see a few heavy thundery downpours before that transition happens. And it's still really hot today. The hottest air now is further east across the country, so it's really down towards the southeast London area. I'd like to see a 37 today, so if we get that, that would be the hottest day of the year again, but it's going to cool down over the weekend. But I thought I'd give you a view of the bigger picture, because our heat's all part of a heat dome that's sitting over Europe, and it's extremely hot. The hotter air is going to push its way a little bit further east. I'm on various weather WhatsApp groups, but I've got a world weather WhatsApp group, and I've been talking a lot on that. And so across the Netherlands, for example, had their first ever red heat warning issued for their extreme heat. Across France, they've had their hottest day ever. Across parts of Spain, temperatures haven't dropped below 30 degrees all night, which is just ridiculous. And we're seeing now the heat wave records across Switzerland being broken, and that we're expecting to see across parts of Austria, Hungary, across Poland and Czech Republic. We're going to see their temperature records being broken as well. So it's a widespread thing, that this really hot spell of weather across Europe and very early in the summer.
So just noticed that 41 in Vienna, which is kind of...
Vienna. Not, sorry, I won't say. Too early for that.
Right, next. King Charles' tax.
£20,000 for Princess Anne's trip to the rugby, £126,000 travelling to Italy, and £66,000, sending staff on a recce to the US and Bermuda. The royal finances are out. So what do the numbers tell us? And more importantly, what don't they reveal? We now know for 2024-25, the King paid £12.9 million in tax. And Prince William, who'd previously decided not to divulge his tax bill, paid £7.76 million. It's the first time we've been given these figures. And remember, unlike me and you, neither has to pay tax. This is voluntary. These are big numbers. Last year, the total spending by the royal household was £132.1 million, of which £60 million went on the restoration of Buckingham Palace. The total working royal travel bill was £3.3 million, including £130,000 for Prince William's visit to Saudi Arabia, and over £48,000 on one trip to Lancashire for the King on the soon-to-be decommissioned royal train. Between them, the King and Queen carried out 708 public engagements last year. And they've now decided they won't ever move to Buckingham Palace. So is all this value for money? We asked forensic accountant Professor Atul Shah to look at the royal books.
There is transparency, but also there is there's quite a lot which is secret, which we don't know about.
So when you say things are secret, what is hidden in here then?
Well, we definitely don't have a clue about the overall big picture of the king's and the royal family's wealth. There is a hint that there is a large and material investment portfolio which the king holds or the royal family owns.
So you think there's a lot we don't know about how much the king is worth?
I mean, I think, I'm welcoming the transparency that the king is trying to give and the royal family. I have huge respect for the public leadership that King Charles is giving to the nation, but he could go further, and by going further, he could develop much better trust from society and much better respect.
There has been increased scrutiny of royal household spending. The National Audit Office found Andrew Mountbatten Windsor sublet 3 cottages on his former home, Royal Lodge, and his daughters both have rent-free homes in royal palaces paid for by the king. The late Queen never said a word about her tax bill. The palace hopes this helps lift the veil on royal finances, but for a monarchy determined to appear modern and in touch, many argue true transparency still remains just out of view. The palace talks a lot about transparency. Is this transparent?
No. It's partial, incomplete, and selective. For example, what's the amount of money in the bank account? As individuals, we would know how much money we have in the bank account, but here we don't know how much cash there is in the king's bank account. We also know that the king owns shares and investments all over the world. How much is that? We don't know that. That portfolio, as individuals, if we do have, we would be able to value it. And we have to disclose it when we do our tax return.
Okay, let me check. I think it's somewhere in these numbers.
Tina? Still there? Or is the chair too good?
Sorry.
Well, how can we keep our homes bearable in this heat? More of us are turning.
I found a top story today. It's that council tax may be on cards as debit hits for record high money blog. Alright, let's look at a quick river.
Excuse me, boss. Could I have a rolling backpack for £100? £100? Are you sure you want all these backpacks? No. I only need one. Don't you know, this backpack is only £2.50 on Temu right now. £2.
Good evening. Good evening. The hot and humid weather continues through the rest of this week before things finally cool down this weekend. But there are red extreme heat warnings in force for parts of southern England as well as South Wales through the rest of today and into Friday. These are the warnings through the rest of Thursday. In the red area, impacts are very likely from the heat to the general population, both to your health and to local infrastructure. So you will need to make modifications to your plans. But we are expecting impacts in these amber areas to continue into the rest of the week as well. Into Friday, the heat transfers further eastwards. So after a fresher day today, it's going to be another hot day on Friday across the east, particularly across more southeastern areas of England where temperatures are expected to reach the high 30s. An exceptionally hot day to come on Friday after another very warm night tonight and another very warm night to come on Friday night. So further warnings in force for the rest of this week for extreme heat. We do also have thunderstorm warnings in force across parts of the southwest through this evening and across the northwest of Scotland due to a weather front moving in here. So some very heavy spells of rain. We could see 50 millimetres of rain falling across the far northwest in these thunderstorms. Lightning is likely for some areas overnight in the southwest as this area of thunderstorms pushes up into more northern areas of England. So perhaps a bit of a thundery night to come for some areas. Clearer skies across the east, and with the onshore wind continuing across more eastern areas, it's going to be a slightly fresher night for more eastern areas of England, but it is going to be hot and warm again into Friday and Saturday morning. But we will see some rain around to start the day across more northern areas with that risk of thunderstorms pushing up into Scotland where it will linger through much of the day. There's a warning in force for much of the day on Friday. Extreme heat warnings still in force across much of England, eastern England in particular through Friday. That's where we're expecting the highest temperatures. Very strong sunshine. You will need to take precautions if you are spending any prolonged period outside. Temperatures are expected to reach 37, possibly 38 degrees on Friday. Saturday across more southeastern areas of England, but quite widely, once again in the 30s across much of central England. Further west, though, it's going to be a much fresher day, particularly across western Wales, southwest England, temperatures in the 20s. And once again, much cooler across the far northwest, with temperatures here in the teens. So much cooler across more northwestern areas, as it has been through much of this week, but a risk of thunderstorms through much of the day on Friday. Another very warm night to come on Friday night into Saturday morning across more eastern areas. It will be fresher, though, across the west, and that's because we're seeing westerly winds. Atlantic air introduce much less humid air, much fresher air, and more cloud and more rain for the start of the weekend. So it's going to be a fresher night. Temperatures will still be in the high teens, though, across the west, but nowhere near as warm as it has been throughout this week. Still in the 20s, though, across the east to start the day on Saturday. So another very warm and tropical night for eastern areas. There's still an extreme heat warning in force for eastern areas throughout Saturday. Another very hot day, but across the west, we'll see more in the way of cloud, showery rain pushing up from the south and west through much of the day. Quite brisk winds as well across more southwestern areas. So a big change to the weather to come through the weekend, bringing much needed relief from this prolonged heat that we've seen throughout the week. These are the maximum temperatures we're expecting throughout Saturday, widely in the mid-20s across much of England and Wales. Still in the low 30s, though, across the south and east. So it's still going to be a hot day, and it will have been a hot night Friday night into Saturday. So we're still expecting impacts from the heat on Saturday, despite it not being quite as hot. But by the time we get to Sunday, temperatures widely across the UK will be in the high teens and low 20s, much closer to average and much more pleasant than it has been this week. But we do have lots of warnings in force, and if you need any more advice about how to handle the warnings, make sure you check out our website and app for more details. Bye-bye.
Hi there. Hi there. Exceptional heat and humidity will continue to affect large parts of England and Wales during the rest of Friday, but the highest temperatures are shifting east. They are more likely across East Anglia and the southeast of England through the rest of the day. So amber and red warnings now in force, but the focus for the highest impacts east of England. Now, we've seen some thundery impacts overnight. We've seen lively thunderstorms moving through parts of the north and the west of the UK. They're clearing to the North Sea, but further storms may well develop during Friday afternoon. We're talking about heavy thundery rain across central and northern Scotland, with the risk of lightning and hail, some heavy downpours for Northern Ireland as well. And then as temperatures rise into the afternoon, north of England, southeast Scotland prone to some lively thunderstorms with, again, some large hail, frequent lightning, gusty winds. Further south, widespread sunny skies once again, away from the west of Wales, parts of the southwest where there will be some cloud, and a fresher feel finally into the west of Wales as well as the southwest of England. Low 20s here, but East Wales, elsewhere across the West Country, still a hot day expected, even if temperatures aren't quite as high as Thursday. The peak temperatures, the Midlands, the east of England, where temperatures will reach the mid-30s fairly widely, and then across parts of East Anglia into London, we're likely to see 37, if not 38 degrees. So there's a chance that Thursday's June temperature record will be broken again, third day in a row, and this is why we have warnings in force. It's not just the absolute temperatures, although exceptional, it's the humidity as well, and it's the accumulated impacts through the week. Of course, we're seeing strains on hospitals at the moment fairly widely across many parts of England and Wales, and we're seeing very little relief at the moment by night and by day, with high humidities remaining. Amber warning there for a large part of central and eastern England, red warning for the southeast into London. Elsewhere across northern parts of the UK, yellow warnings for thunderstorms, and there'll be further storms continuing into Friday evening, initially across northern parts of the country, Scotland, Northern Ireland, prone to these, especially towards the north and the west, and then some storms could develop across northern France and drift their way into the southeast of England once more, with some frequent lightning, hail, gusty winds, torrential rain, but some uncertainty about the track of these storms as they move out of the continent. Across the west of England, Wales, a fresher night to come with a keen breeze and a slightly more comfortable night for sleeping. We're still in the high teens, however, and we're still in the low 20s towards the southeast, so really quite uncomfortable here. And like I say, with little respite by night and with buildings staying very warm, although temperatures aren't as extreme in the southeast on Saturday, we've still got this amber extreme heat warning for residual impacts from the week that we've just experienced. Further west, a much fresher feel for the west of England, parts of Wales, with a breeze coming from the southwest. Further showers and thunderstorms developing in places. Scotland, Northern Ireland, especially towards the west of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and across parts of the Midlands into East Wales, there could be some isolated storms as we go through the afternoon. Temperatures on Saturday, highly variable across the country. We've got this fresher feel in the west, low 20s expected. Towards the east, still hot, 31, 32 Celsius, but not quite as exceptional as we've seen through the week. And that heat and the remaining humidity likely to spark further storms in the southeast on Saturday night. And there's the risk of a really significant system moving out to the continent. You can see it here. It looks really quite angry. Don't take this too literally, because as these very large clusters of thunderstorms develop, they take on a life of their own and they can move in all sorts of directions. So there is that risk in the southeast of England later Saturday of some really quite severe thunderstorms, but we will try our best to
Let's go to the first of some sport news, are they? Yes, we'll start off with Atom Bridge in for the signing test. England struggled. New Zealand finished their one on 361 for 4, but now England have managed to bowl New Zealand out for 438. With Turks taking 4 wickets by Shear, Archer, all picking wickets in that first innings. They've done for draw for third opening round at Wimbledon. Serena Williams will play high singles comeback at Wimbledon against Australian Mayo Joint in her opening rounds. Automatically agree a red card free for Nottingham Forest Elliot Anderson today in the FIFA World Cup. Last night, Japan drew 1-1 with Sweden. Turkey lost to the Netherlands 3-1. Pepper drew with Australia. Turkey beat America, and tonight Norway, France, Senegal. Yeah. That's enough for news for now. Well, that's it from us. I'm back with the BBC News at 6. I'll see you about 6:10 for News at 6. Have a great afternoon. Bye bye.